and share about how to improve your mental health during the pandemic. Before we get started, let's have a word of prayer. Gracious Father, we come in the wonderful name of Jesus to say thank you, Lord, for the opportunity that you've given us to come together and share. Thank you for my brothers and sisters who come, and God, I pray that our time together will be fruitful, that the Holy Spirit will indeed guide us, direct us in all that we say and do, and that God, that you would be glorified. God, we need you desperately in times like this to lead, guide us, and to be our strength. Your word says that you are always with us, that you will never leave us. You will be with us. And even in times like this, when things are so rapidly changing, up and down, topsy-turvy, God, we need you. We need you within our person. We need you within our soul to calm the sea that sometimes rages within us, to calm the storm that sometimes rages within us. So God, tonight we pray by the presence of the Holy Spirit that you would guide us, that you would give us the tools that we need to be strengthened. And we as a community of believers, as spiritual believers, as we rely on you and your guidance to direct us, we can also rely on one another. We pray, Father, in the wonderful, matchless name of Jesus. Amen. Again, I'm so grateful to see all of you that have joined tonight. What a blessing. And I believe that this topic is very, very important to all individuals and especially those that are a part of the body of Christ. The third epistle of John, verse number 2 says, "Beloved, I pray that you may prosper in all things and be in health, even as your soul prospers." That's an acceleration, a peace, a wellness, a well-being, even for the soul. Certainly this coronavirus, this COVID-19 pandemic may be stressful for many. Feelings of anxiety, isolation, loneliness, stress, coupled with life itself, can be most challenging. We all have to learn how to cope with stress in a healthy way. Mental health is an important part of the overall health and well-being of humanity. It affects how we think, how we feel, how we act. I thought about even myself, and I pretty much feel like I handle stress well. But over the last 3 months, I remember having 2 overwhelming incidents in my own journey. One was the discovery of one day when I realized that many ministerial colleagues had succumbed to the virus. And I'd gotten word about 5 of them in one day. And it overwhelmed me. And I remember sitting down, watching something on the television. I'm sorry, not on television, on Facebook, watching a memorial service of a person that I didn't know, and begin to just find myself weeping uncontrollably. The grief, the overwhelm, and the stress of the moment had overtaken me. And I had to realize, wow, I've got to regroup. How do I handle this? And that's a natural response. The second incident happened just a few weeks ago when we had our first gathering on the parking lot of our church and Park and Praise, and I was overcome with emotion, mixed emotions, and I've shared it with many, joy to see everyone, but the overwhelming feeling that I can't interact, embrace the people who I'm called to serve like I want to. And I was overwhelmed in a moment, and stress, all kind of anxiety began to hit me. And I was, okay, I had to say to myself, how are you going to handle this moving forward? So we all have moments that happen to us. And we all need the tools on how to cope. Yes, we pray. Yes, we read the scripture. Yes, we quote the word. But within our psyche, we need to learn how to handle some things. There are many biblical examples in the scripture that teach us that we have to learn how to handle things stressed. There are examples given to us. When we look at the prophet Elijah, who had a tremendous experience in ministry, calling down fire on Mount Carmel and consuming sacrifice and 450 prophets of Baal. And after that, he went into a deep depression, finds himself sitting under a tree alone. It was depression. If you all look at all that he experienced, the challenge of life was there for him. So we need to learn how to do it. We're going to be blessed tonight with a brother who's a part of our ministry. I'm so proud that he's going to share with us tonight. He is a licensed counselor. He's very good at what he does. He's a passion for people, and he has a passion for God. He loves the Lord. And Brother Bryan Lewis is going to share with us and lead us in our time of discussion. Bryan?
Hey, Bishop, am I coming through clearly, sir? Appreciate it. I'm so grateful to have, to be on the line today. And what I'm even more grateful for is just the person who just introduced me. He's so special. And it's so weird. I have a business board in my house. And on the bottom of my business board says February 17th, 2018. Now, most people are thinking, is that a day that I wanted to hit a goal? Well, no, it wasn't at all. It's the day that I first came to Kingdom Life Cathedral Ministries. And the first day that I met Bishop Porter. And this is so funny, there's Wes McCall is on here. And, what we're going to talk about today is some of our fears. And, I came a week earlier than that. Came February 10th, 2018. I didn't go in because, one, I wasn't in the proper position, I don't think, to go in. I looked at the door and Wes McCall was sitting at the door. I'm like, he's too big. I'm not ready for that. So don't think that anything that I'm telling you guys on this call today that I'm above reproach in my own visualizations of where we are, right? So I want us to be honest with ourselves. I want us to be understanding that we're going to have a good time with this. I think so many times when people talk about mental health, the stigma is that it's so bad, right? That like you're some ostracized person, you're so different. I can tell you right now, I don't know this, but I see a couple pastors on here, and I can guarantee you each and every one of them has had a moment in their life where they have been down. They have had a moment in their life where they have not felt so great about themselves. They've had a moment in their life where they've lost somebody who was a mentor to them, somebody who had them grieving in a way that most people wouldn't understand. Why? Because we see our pastors, bishops, in a light that most people don't see. Or we see our mentors, our parents, our best friends, the ones who make millions of dollars, in a light that we don't see. I want you guys to think about one stat that might be the most important stat. 76% of the suicides done are people that make six figures a year. So I want you guys to think about the idea that don't think because your friend who has a nice car and has a nice house or has all the things that you're looking for is 100% not dealing with the things that we're going to talk about. So I'm going to share my slides here. We're going to have just a brief conversation. Bishop, if at any point in time you have a question about something that's in my presentation, please stop me, ask a question. And I'll also leave some of the end for questions because I don't know everything that everybody is dealing with. But our specific goal today is to talk about the pandemic, right? And to talk about what you can do in some stats during this time, okay? So just keep that in mind when you're asking questions and, focus specifically on that because that's where we are today, right? So let's make sure that we are being specific in what we're asking, not just of me, but anybody on here, because this is new for all of us. But there are some things that they teach us clearly that are crisis oriented that I think that can help some people during this time. So I'm going to share my screen here. All right, Bishop, can give me a thumbs up if you can see it. All right, thanks. So the first thing is, what is a habit? I want to talk to people about that because I think sometimes what pandemics do is teach us what habits we have, are what we've learned. Because most of the time, most people only share about 75% of their life with people because they're not comfortable sharing the other 25. Working with kids that have disabilities, working with kids that have behavioral issues, going in homes, what I often find is they say, we don't want our friends to come over because they might see this or they might see that. That's a habit, right? What is a habit? A settled or regular tendency or practice, especially one that is hard to give up. So I want you to think about this as we're doing this. What are some of the habits you have on a daily basis that now during this pandemic you found? Like, hey, look, man, for me, mine's tough because being an essential worker, I still have to go into homes. But I have one house. Mine is pie. I absolutely love apple pie. And my client's mom knows this. So she makes one at least once a week, right? So I have a bad habit of saying yes to the apple pie. Now, some people may not think that that's a big deal, but for me personally, that's not a good habit. Now, I want you to think about something else. The second line here. It takes 2,000 times to master something. So be kind to yourself if you falter along the way. And the reason why is because as long as it takes you to like apple pie, as long as it's going to sometimes take you to unlike it. But you have to start somewhere. I'm not telling you it's going to go away overnight. But what I can tell you is for sure that if you start now, we can get somewhere. You can have some progress. The average person before they die ties their shoe 3.5 million times. So if we know that, how many times you tie your shoe and actually don't even remember tying it? Because it's a habit, right? So what if you could have good habits in your life, that you do them so regularly that you don't even remember doing them? Because it becomes a part of your, what we'll talk about later, your daily method of operation. What types of habits have you as a person broken or started during this time? Do you exercise on a daily basis? Are you intentional about what you're doing? And what I say by that is, we'll talk about this later in the slides, but do you go to the grocery store and actually seek what you're looking to eat? Or do you go aisle to aisle and just throw things into the bin? See, the same things happen in our lives. We're not always intentional. We get up and we're like, I'll just get through the day. But how about being intentional about where you want to go, what you want to see, what goals you want to accomplish? Because if you're able to do that, you're being intentional, right? But most times we're not intentional. We're just like, you know what? I'm going to get up today and I'm going to move from the bed to the couch. And when I do that, I moved. So, I started my day. But you didn't reach any goals by the end of the day that you were seeking to. Why? Because you weren't intentional about what you were doing. Forceful thinking. I love this part because for me, forceful thinking talks about a lot of things that I think people should really discuss. And for me, that is doing things even when you don't like to do them. I'm not a huge banana fan, but there's potassium in a banana. So sometimes I'll eat it. See, you can't always do things based off of how they taste, how they make you feel. You have to do them because of what they do for you. Be results driven, not such emotions driven, okay? Because sometimes we can emotionally tell ourselves that a donut is good for us. We will emotionally tell ourselves in a pandemic that it is good for us to binge watch an entire series all day long of Netflix. We'll tell ourselves that. Doesn't make it right, but we'll tell ourselves that emotionally that makes sense to do that. We have to be clear with ourselves that, man, I may not like going outside to exercise, but I need to do this because of the results it's going to give me. So that's a big thing during the pandemic. And the reason why is this. Give me 1 second here, guys. I'll move this over here. Perfect. According to the National Science Foundation, on average, an average person has about 12,000 to 60,000 thoughts per day. Of those, 80% are negative and 90% are repetitive thoughts. What does that tell you as a person? That tells you that those thoughts are following you each day. So what happens when you're in a pandemic? You have idle time, right? You're home, you're by yourself, you're in the house, you're quarantined. Now you're thinking about those thoughts, right? Even more. So now you're tripling it. This is why I say in the morning during a pandemic, you have to be really good about what you do in the morning. 85% of the time, what you seek in the morning is what will affect your day. So if you wake up in the morning and the first 15 minutes of what you spend on is social media, then guess what you'll spend the rest of your day thinking about or attacking people on or thinking of or having people attack you on and back and forth, listening to the comments. Sometimes I'm just as equally as bad at that. So I ask you guys, 70% of successful people begin their day with prayer. Do you do that? Because if you do that, then that's something very powerful. But it's also something that is needed for every single person to do more of. Because sometimes we get up and some people have children and their kids jump in the bed and that's their alarm clock. I get it. Some people have, teenage children and you got to get up and get them to places. And, I know some people here are teachers and have all those different things. They may get up and the first thing they got to do in the morning is answer emails. But what if you could be intentional and get up a little bit earlier so that the thoughts that you have were positive? So like for me, when I get up in the morning, first thing for me is prayer. Then after prayer, my biggest thing is I have a call every single morning with my business team. It's 1 hour long every single day. And the reason why we do that is because there's power in many. So for you guys, what are you guys listening to every single morning during this pandemic when you get up? Are you listening to a YouTube video with Eric Thomas, or are you listening to an old sermon by Bishop? Whatever it might be for you. I'm not sure what that is for you, but in the morning, you have got to do a great job of controlling your thoughts because you're going to have them. You just have to do a better job of training your brain of whether they're going to be positive or negative. Positive or negative attitudes are contagious. What you digest is what your brain will respond to. And this is what I'm talking about on a bigger scale is I take out times of my day 3 times a day to make sure that I'm getting some sort of personal development in my life. Now that personal development, Wes, I might as well get on Wes' cell phone plan, as much as I call that guy. But there's a reason for that. Is because when I'm interacting with a negative person, I'm having a negative thought. When I call him, it turns into a positive thought. So what are you guys doing when you have that negative thought? So 3 times a day, I make sure that I'm doing it, even if I'm having a positive thought. You know what, man, I'll just call Wes like, hey, man, just wanted to reach out. How are things going? Because we all need sometimes to just get it out, to voice it, to discuss it, to get discernment from people that we trust, like love, right? All of those things. But part of that is your brain is digesting positive things, right? Do you realize the average person in a year could lose 20, the average person, not everybody has 20 pounds to lose, but the average person can lose 20 pounds a year if they just drink water and nothing else? So just think about in your life what you could get rid of in your brain that's maybe toxic for your brain if you could just get the water of your brain, which is positiveness, positive mindset, positive people, positive thoughts going through it all the time, from videos, from books, from talking to people. Because right now, you know what you're in? You're in your house with yourself, and only you know yourself. See, nobody on this call knows you better than you. Period. It's just the way that it is. So in knowing that, you have to make a decision that when you have idle time, you're going to spend that idle time benefiting you the most. Meditation, walking, running, exercising is always good. I know not everybody can do that. I just talked about having a 5-minute phone call per day with a mentor or pastor. It's been deemed healthy for people who are isolated. I do this all the time. Big business guru, and I listen to Jim Rome and, a whole bunch of others, Eric Worre, and they say you should talk to at least 5 of your mentors every day. I know not everybody has maybe that even many mentors or has that much ability to do it in terms of time-wise, but do your best. Because you are the sum of what you hang out with. People say it's not true. It's 100% true. Because you wouldn't hang out with people who didn't have similar interests as you. What would you have to talk about? What would you have to do? So during a pandemic, you should do the same thing. Surround people around you that have the same values, ideas, and places you want to go. You do that by not having any idle time. So when you have idle time, we just talked about how the thoughts are. Exercises you can do to help negative thoughts and bad eating habits. Yes, look, I'm a foodie. I love food. Can we be honest here? Who can raise their hand and just say, I love food? Say it with me. I love food. It's okay. Look, we all can say it. It's all good. There's nothing wrong with saying it. You know, I'm a big time food person. Hang on one second, guys. I'm going to go right back. All right. So, negative thoughts. I want some people to think about this one here, and you can write this down. List every negative thought, because this is actually an exercise that you can do. So if you have a pen and paper, you can either screenshot this. You know, I know that they are recording this, so this will be on the website for you guys to view later. But for sure, one of the big things that I want you guys to realize is this is a really good step that I do with my own clients and with people all the time. So the first one is list every negative thought you have. Once you have listed everything down, you don't stop. You dig deeper and write more thoughts about fears, dislikes, losses, things that stress you out daily, or things that irritate you about other people. Okay, then you want to make another column on a separate list. Now, for every negative thought, write at least one positive thought. An example would be if you fear failure, write down one instance where failure helped you learn a lesson. Why is this? This is because if we only see it as a failure or something that was negative, we never learn from it because we always think of it as bad. You only ever think about learning something with a positive thought, right? And I'll give you an example. I used this with a kid the other day. He was running around his house and he fell, and parents stopped telling him. They said, hey, look, man, we just can't get him to stop running around the house. We just can't. So I said, well, I mean, you guys can tell him as much as you want, but he's going to continue to do it if you continue to give it attention. So he fell, busted his chin open. And you know what he said? The pain was worse. His chin of falling was worse. Not listening to mom and dad and the consequences. Now, most people would say that, how does that apply to what we have here? It applies to what we have here because he was actually able to say, in the process of me hurting my chin, I realized why I shouldn't run. So in your life, if the purpose of writing down all the negative things is to realize what you shouldn't do. Because when you think it, you never actually come up with a solution, do you? Most business people never ever have just a problem board. They always say, I hear all the problems, but what are the solutions? That's the goal here with this. This is how you turn negative thoughts into positive ones. Because you begin to say, I hear what the issue is, but I don't see what the solution is. When you begin to think like that, you know what you'll say? Oh, I stubbed my toe, but man, is God good. He's going to heal it. You'll say, look, you know what? I'm down today, but you know what? I have a great bishop. I can call him. Every time you think of something negative, you will almost habitually, habit, right, will begin to tell yourself, I have the solution to that. It's no longer a problem. But when we only think negative, we drown in that, because then we begin to do what I do, overthink it. Then when you overthink it, it's worse. And 98% of what you actually think is going to happen really never happens. But you worry yourself up about it, and you think about it, and you're like, what if they do this? And I got this meeting at work tomorrow, and what if they say this? But what if I say this, but then I'll do this if they say that? As opposed to just saying, I'm going to be the best person that I possibly can be, and I'm going to call Bishop, and we're going to pray together. I'm going to call Miss Davis, we're going to pray together. We're going to do those things. Why? Because that's solution-oriented. How to break bad eating habits. Look, I'm going to be real with everybody on this line. I know that this one's probably going to be difficult for the majority of people on here. I get it. It's okay. I see some smiles here. I see some smiles online because they're like, I love food. I get it. Janice raised hand. I get it. The first thing you want to do is don't shop during a pandemic when you're hungry. There's evidence that shows when you go to the grocery store when you're hungry is the worst. Somebody is unmuted. Let me hear. Oh, I think we're good. All right. It just shows. If people are laughing on here, but they know what I'm saying is 100% true. Because how many times do you go to the store and you're hungry and you buy what you emotionally think that you want? Right? You emotionally justify, and I'll use an example. We all know that a Toyota Prius will get you to your house just as safe as another car. Be real here. It takes gasoline, it works, it has turn signals, it'll get you from point A to point B. Why is it that we have to have the Ferrari? Because we have emotionally told ourselves that we need the Ferrari. The same thing happens with food. I just told you I love pie. And yesterday I had a slice of pie. Look, raising my hand, first one to tell you. And you know what I told myself? If I don't accept this, she'll think I'm being rude. That's what I told myself. I had emotionally justified why I personally needed the pie. I didn't need the pie. I told myself I did, but I didn't need it. So for you, you have to go to the grocery store without being hungry. Because, Wes, I say this all the time. I tell him it gets on my nerves all the time because I think he's up here, knows what I'm thinking. And he says, you will always find what you're seeking. If you're seeking negativity, you'll find it. If you're seeking bad food, you'll find it. If you're seeking anger, you'll find it. So you have to be intentional, like we talked about earlier, in seeking the things that you really, really need. And I'm using this example because it's super important. And this is the reason why I know some people say, well, how does mental health think about food? Your brain needs it. There's a ton of science that describes how healthy eating determines how you sleep, how you think, and how you react to things. Right? So you have to realize that. Two, this is what I've decided to do, and I did it tonight. And man, I'm telling you, I'm a little upset about it, but I'll get over it in the morning. I took all the bad food in my house and I put it in a box. Seriously, put it in a box. Today, I only have healthy things in the house. You know what this will do? This will force you to eat healthy things. But you know what we do? We tell ourselves that we're bigger than our own temptations. We're not. If you have the cookies in the house, you're going to eat the cookies. Which then turns into what? Man, I knew I shouldn't eat those cookies. Now we feel bad about ourselves. Then after we feel bad about ourselves, what do? We say, I should go work out. But then you don't go work out, and the next day the cookies are still there and you have some more cookies. But what if you just didn't have the cookies in the house? And you were like, man, I'm hungry, and all we have is Brussels sprouts and chicken. This is all we got. Then, when you're hungry, you're going to eat what you have. And again, Bishop, I hope it's okay that we had tough conversations today because this is part of, pandemic. This is where we are. Why? Because you're by yourself.
Absolutely. It's very important.
Okay. You know, thanks. This is super important because I'm telling you, we all do it. We all do it. Every single body on here, I'm sure that they do it. So you have to start telling yourselves, okay, I know that I'm not bigger than my temptation. You know, I have a friend of mine, you know, about 3 weeks ago, I had to check him into a 30-day alcohol um, treatment center. And the biggest thing he said is, when I get out, my whole life is going to have to change. And I said, yeah, it is. And he says, not even about the alcohol, but the people who allowed me to use it. And what he was describing was his scenery is going to have to change. And sometimes you have to understand, too, that when you do this, your daily method of operation is going to have to change. Exercise has to be a part of that routine. It can be walking, it can be playing with a pet, it can be running, it can be anything. But you need to be doing something active, because the current you can't get you to where you want to be. You have to change to get different results. But the funny part about mental health, I tell people all the time, is you can't complain about the results you didn't get from the work you didn't do. Look, man, the gym membership may cost you something, but the abs are not free. Mental health is the same way. You have got to do a good job of being mentally healthy, about making sure that you are 100% okay with being honest with yourself about where you currently are. Because if you're honest about where you currently are, you can be honest about the results that you're going to get after you do the work that you know you're capable of doing. So one of the things I suggest is start having group Zooms every other day, family, friends, any of the things like that. There are some people, honestly, I'm going to be serious with you, that I have friends of mine that are gym fanatics, that they get on every morning at 7, 8, 9 o'clock in the morning and do a Zoom in their house and do an hour exercise. Now, some trainers may never go back to a gym. They said they've now found a way where they can do it from their computer and help people in a more important way. So what if you could get up in the morning and get on Zoom every other day and just talk to people? Laugh, unmute your lines. You know what I mean? Tell a few jokes. Because again, there is a chemical that is released in your brain. It's a happy chemical, seriously, when you actually laugh. How can you laugh if all you're laughing at is just air, nothing, isolation, quarantine? What if you can get on a Zoom? Every time I see Miss Davis, she has like a smile from God. Like, it's incredible. So all I do, like right there, she makes me laugh because she's laughing right now. See, this is what she does. She's a giggle box, right? But that's contagious. That's a good, positive thing. So what if we can get on a Zoom and get that energy every other day? Not the only energy we're getting is from our bed to our couch to the kitchen to walking the dog a little bit. Get some interaction, get some positive ones. Don't be above getting help. You know, the greatest thing in the world that I can say about mental health is the person who's not concerned about what others think about them often wins quicker. And the reason why is because the ones who don't want you to succeed are often the ones who enjoy misery. When you are getting help, you're doing the right thing, not the wrong thing. You know, I get this, there's this stigma that when you get help, oh man, they're crazy. Oh man, he or she sees a therapist. Oh man, they got issues. And you know why I laugh? Because in reality, we all got issues. Every single person on this call has got issues. The difference is some of them are more in tune with them than others and are willing to say, I have issues, let me get help. And I had a client about a year ago who, praise God, just got accepted to the University of Virginia to go to school. And he said, I don't know if I should be here talking to you, but I do know that I love my life more than I do what people think about me. And I don't know that my life will be any good if I listen to them and not seek you. Some people in your life during this pandemic right now need help. Suicides are up 68% right now. But you know why people aren't getting help? Is because those around them aren't supporting them to get the help that they need. And some of us on this call are very, 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 very strong-willed. We might get the help on our own. But some of our friends aren't that strong. That's where some of us come in. The majority of people I know that are on this call, and almost all of them, know that we have the greatest bishop in the world. 100%. I know that if I'm having a day, I love my life enough to call him before I decide to go somewhere else. So the difference for you guys is, what if we could be kingdom strong and go help those who need us? Because it's not just therapists that can help. Everybody has a mission in life. Mine is the clinical side. Maybe yours won't be. Maybe you're like Wes, a mentor that literally I had no clue that I needed. And God said, don't be afraid of the person at the door. You need to go back. You need to face your fear. And I went to the gym for like 2 months, and I was like, okay, now I'm bigger. I'm ready. I'm cool. We can have this conversation. But, I'm being honest with you about the conversation, because don't be above help. All it shows is that you have an ego. It doesn't show anything else. It shows that you may think that you're above even God in some aspects, because he gave these people to all of us to use for our help and to help us. So at the end of the day, it not only hurts you, but it hurts those around you. Because when you don't seek help, even during a pandemic right now, you're quarantined with people who have to deal with the things that you're dealing with. There's an aura about you when you don't feel right, when you're depressed, when you're angry, that others are like, oh my God, I can't believe I have to be in this house with this person. What is going on right now? This is awful. But it's true. Who here has a person previous to the pandemic went into their office at work and literally would go the long way just so you didn't have to talk to that one person? You raise your hand. Seriously, just went the long way around the building so that you didn't have to see the one person. Why? Because they sucked the life out of you. Same thing happens here. When somebody can feel your energy, that's why animals are used for people who have seizures, people who have diabetes, people who have health issues. You've seen the dogs, because they can feel something we can't. It's been proven. They can feel it before it comes. So you don't think that there's something kinetically happening with people as well? And when you come in the room and somebody's like, you feel a little off right now. What's going on? So that means you got to understand that when you don't seek help, you're also hurting the ones around you, because they don't know how to help you. They think they do, but they may not know, because they may not know what's going on. So you have to tell people and speak to them sometimes about, look, man, I'm sorry. This is what's happening. I'm picking on Wes today, but Wes will come right to my seat at church and put his hand on my back and just be like, hey, look, I need you to talk to me. I'm like, nobody asked you to do that. Like, I don't know why you came all the way over here to do that. Like, I was trying not to talk to you. That's why I sat over here, not over there. But, this is the part of who he is he knows that a part of God's gift to him is, I'm supposed to help this young man. I need to go talk to him. I know he don't want to talk to me, but it doesn't matter. With some of you guys, and I'm sure, I've had I had a friend commit suicide. All I thought about is what could I have done different? And this is even as a therapist. What could I have done different? Some of you guys see some of your friends and you saw all the signs and you're like, I don't know if I should say something. Why not? A friend cares about who you're supposed to be, not who you currently are. So I encourage everybody to do that. Spend at least 2 hours a day outside of the house. And I mean outside. Not like, hey, I'm going to sit with the screen door open. No. Outside. I see Miss Davis is outside. It can be back porch. It can be backyard. It could be at the park. Get into the routine of getting out of the house. Because sometimes we're in a quarantine, we get into this habit of we are just going to stay in sweats. I say business from the waist up. If people really had to show, the flip-flops and shorts that they were on, next to their dress shirt, things would be different. Zooms right now, people got on full suit from the waist up. They got on athletic shorts, socks, and sandals, right? So, I'm just saying to you guys is get out of the house, get into that routine of getting dressed again, getting ready to go somewhere, doing those things. There's something to be said about that. Again, daily method of operation. Change of scenery, like it says here, has been seen to help people's mood 93% of the time. One of the greatest things for panic attacks is actually fresh air. Not medicine, not somebody talking to you. Something that's free. Air. They tell you to go outside, put your hands on your head, and walk around for 15 seconds in fresh air. They actually encourage it when it's really cold because it almost shocks you. Seriously. So, I say that because a lot of these things that we're talking about are related to people's moods. And during a pandemic, these are all things that and I didn't want to hit everything because I could have went pretty wide, but I wanted to be sure that I stayed, within our parameters. So I'm going to leave the floor open here for questions. Any trouble that anybody is having, let's make sure that we discuss them. Let me know what you learned from it. And lastly, are you willing to be honest with yourself? Because at the end of this pandemic, and it will end because God's greater than anything that we've ever faced, no weapon formed against us shall prosper. But we know that you're going to have to face you when all this is done. So when all this is done, are you going to be able to say, man, I came out of this a better person, the same person? Who knows? So, Bishop, I'll turn it back to you, but unless people have questions, they're more than welcome to ask. Anybody can ask.
Great, Bryan. What a great presentation. Does anyone have any questions or comments? Please share. Anyone? Well, Paul recorded in the scripture, Bryan, and everyone in his letter in Philippians, he says, finally, brethren, whatever things are true, whatever things are noble, whatever things are just, whatever things are pure, whatever things are lovely, whatever things are of good report, if there are any virtue and if there is anything praiseworthy, meditate on these things. Character and conduct, as you have shared so wonderfully with us, begins in the mind. Our actions are affected by the things we dwell on in our thoughts. And so here in this verse of scripture, Paul cautions us to concentrate on the things that will result in right living and godly peace. Things that will bring us to a place of having and experiencing the kingdom life every moment of our lives. So what a blessing it has been for us to share. It has been really, really, really powerful. Bryan, thank you. I tell you, it has been most empowering. I pray that everyone has has been blessed, who shared with us. Does anyone have any comments before we close out tonight? Thank you, Erica, for sharing that comment with us. Be intentional and focus on what you want to accomplish daily. Take away, make list of negative thoughts and positive thoughts. Amen. I think one of the things that blessed me, Bryan, that you talked about was forceful thinking. And we know from the scripture, as a man thinketh within himself, so is he. So I must think myself happy. I must think myself those things that I possess intrinsically. I must now let it come from the spirit and reflect in my mind. You know, the shortest distance is the longest road from heart to mind. Amen. And so it's really been a blessing. And that whole piece, Bryan, that you shared about really ordering our day, personal development, solution habits. And I think one of the things that I take away, and which I think is very powerful, I think sometimes we look at it negatively, is we must be honest with who we are. We must be honest with who we are. You know, people talk about owning my truth. And I used to be I am still a little leery of that, because if our truth, and we should own our truth, but what do we do after we own our truth? It has to line up with the truth. And that is the word, the living word of God. And so that's the key right there. But what a powerful time we've had tonight. I pray.
Thank you, Bishop. There's a couple questions here I see. Carlita was one of them. She sent me a message here, so I want to answer that one if you don't mind,
Please,
sir.
please go for it.
So she talked about, can you speak up on ways a person can do to offset trouble or stress in a home during pandemic? You know, yes. One of those things is you have to be willing not to be a control freak. And what I mean by that is some people are control freaks, you know, like myself. My own closet is color coordinated. Right? So just think about what it looks like for me, right? Being in a pandemic and my house, in my closet is color coordinated, right? So shoes, my friends, everybody on here knows I got a gazillion pair of sneakers. It's just my thing. You go in my room and literally, depending on which closet you're in, can depend on which type of shoe, because I know where they all are. So one of those things is being willing to adapt. And part of that is saying, you know what, we didn't get it all right today, but that's okay. Because I could give you a whole bunch of reasons and things, but right now where we are, you have to understand that kids even going back to school in 5 weeks may only go Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So now parents are going to have to understand what to even do Tuesday, Thursday. So to say that I even know what to do, we're working on it. But the big thing is being able to adapt and understand that, you know what? Picking and choosing your battles. And I'll give you an example. Normally, the school sees your kids more than you do. Why? Because for 9 months out of the year, 7.5 hours a day, they're in school. Put them on the bus, you pick them off, and you only really have to worry about morning routine and evening routine. Now parents have had to worry about the entire routine all day, right? So it's like, Miss Ross, I see her putting her hands up like she's ready to Ali. I get it. Well, this is what I tell you is, what if they clean their room 2 days and not 5? Anybody die? Because you know what's going to happen? You're going to fight all day long. Because one, kids are system oriented. Anybody can argue with me on this. The data shows that they are system oriented. Every single kid in America right now, their system has been disrupted. They're used to getting up, going to school, coming home, doing their homework. They're doing things on Zoom, and they're like, what's Zoom? And they've got to put on headphones. Some kids don't have headphones. And some kids have got to leave the house to go get lunch because it's at the local school, but somebody has to drive. It's nuts right now. So what I would tell you is, do one thing for yourself right now if you do anything. Pick and choose your battles, and when you feel that it's too much, you need to leave the house. And that can be for 30 minutes, that can be for 15. You know yourself better than anybody here, like I talked about with preferences. but you have to have a place where you can de-escalate outside of the overstimulation and madness. Because if it's like literally asking a kid to do homework at Chuck E. Cheese, right? Like, how hard would it be to do homework at Chuck E. Cheese, right? The dog's barking, the brother's throwing something from across the room, dad's upstairs on his Zoom, mom's in the basement. Can you bring this down? The dog hasn't went out. It's crazy. So we can either get angry or we can adapt. And the one things about humans that I love about them the most is God has inherently gave us an ability to adapt. Think about it. You know, I was watching a television show today. I remember when I was a kid, Carl Lewis was supposed to be the guy, right? Now Usain Bolt is running 100 meters in less than 10 seconds. That's adaptation of the body, the mind, and the ability to train, right? So we're going to have to adapt. Things are changing. Companies are now, you know, I know friends of mine work for Navy Federal. They say they may never go back into the office. So we have to do the same thing at our houses, which is adapt to the understanding that things are going to be different in the future. We can't fight it. That means now maybe having a daily board. You know, if Bishop, I'll send you some information and you can disseminate it to the group. But there's some boards and some worksheets that have schedules on them that your kids can follow with magnets. They can put them on there for the whole day so they know exactly what it looks like. It starts at 8 and it can end at 8. They can start at 10 and they can end at 5. It's all about you and your family and what your preference is. But I really want you to understand that you cannot fight transition. Because fighting transition will only get you upset, them nowhere, and both of you not speaking for days. So whether that's your husband, your significant other, right, your kids, grandma, whatever. I mean, I think the biggest issue right now that I've seen for people have is the ability to take care of their own home and then have an elderly person they have to take care of. Because now they have that issue, which is, can I even go to the grocery store because of the health issues with COVID and what's going on? So if you have that, we can discuss that further. But I would definitely say pick and choose your battles. Because if you yell at kids all day long, they have the attention span sometimes of an oak tree. Right? I'm just being real about, you can tell them something a million times. They're going to forget. So the best thing you can do is just give them prompts and say, hey, did we clean our room? That gives them a reminder. Hey, did we do the dishes? That gives them a reminder. Hey, I'm having a lot of stress right now. I just need to go get my phone, my headphones. I need to go walk down the street. Right? Like I talked about, fresh air, change of scenery, 93% of the moods will change, right? So I hope that helps you. And then Janice had her hand up. If you can unmute your line, Janice, and speak to us.
No, I didn't. I did that by mistake, but it
Okay.
sounded great.
Hey, Mama Thomas, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. You know, we call her Mama Thomas. Her son is my greatest mentor in business, has been for a number of years. Glad to have her on. Who else has some questions?
I had more of a comment there, Bryan.
Okay.
Great presentation, sir.
Thank you.
I appreciate one thing that you said in particular about kind of giving yourself the grace to fail or not get it right all the time. I know we have Brother Andre on here, and I know Brother Andre does the spin classes. I don't know if you still do those spin classes at Gold, sir. So Brother Andre still does those spin classes at Goals. Now, for somebody like Brother Andre, who's doing spin classes, I can imagine when COVID hit, man, that was crazy. You can't get your routine is off. For me, I'm a gym rat. I like to lift weights, work out and play basketball. My routine was off. So I had to relearn my entire household again. I had to relearn how to communicate with my wife, what to do with that energy. She had to relearn how to handle me because normally I get antsy and not go to the gym. She's like, okay, you got to get out, go somewhere, go lift some weights or something. I don't have that option right now. The beautiful part about the pandemic, it kind of painted me into a corner. Well, okay, not only do I have to see the beauty of my family that you kind of subconsciously run away from so that you can kind of feed yourself the drug of doing your own thing, but I also had to be faced with some of the things that I'm insecure about. And sometimes that's not fun, especially doing this thing where you can't get out. And so having to relearn how to communicate with my wife, and not just my wife, also my children. Because like you said, you yelling at the kids. And that's one thing what we don't particularly do, like yelling at the children, but talking at them and not to them. I saw that was a big thing. So we developed schedules in the house. One of the greatest things that I saw was, even if we're not leaving the house, we get up and get dressed like we're about to go somewhere. And so keeping my mind and keeping them, you cannot sit in this house all day in your pajamas. That is unacceptable. Now, if one day they sit in the house in their pajamas, I may look at them sideways, but I might not lash out and be like, all right, you got to do 50 push-ups now. But those type of things are some of the things that I have encountered during this thing of trying to kind of keep our minds as a collective kind of sane, trying to keep everybody in the house sane, try to find and finding new talents and things that we haven't done, accomplishing goals that we had set to do at the beginning of the year that we hadn't got done. Perfect opportunity to get those things done. So that was one of the things I said.
Yeah, no, Wes, that's important. And I won't keep you guys too much longer, maybe about 10 minutes at tops. But Mrs. Thomas's son, Janice, who's on here, he said something to me when I first was an ACN. And I literally have it on my board. And it makes me laugh because I can't even believe that I had a thought process like this before, that most things fail because of lack of self-accountability. They don't fail for much reason other than that, right? Because majority of time, we can accomplish anything we want to when we are accountable to ourselves. But the problem that comes is, he said, everywhere you go, there you are. And at first, I didn't know what that meant. But then I realized why things weren't working in my life. And they weren't working because everywhere I went, there I was. I couldn't run from me. I could try, but I couldn't. Because everything that I could do to tell myself that everybody else was the issue, I literally needed to look at myself in the mirror and find the problem first, right? Not put it other places, not look at other people, right? And say, wow, I didn't accomplish that goal because of me. It wasn't really a failure. I wasn't self-accountable. I wasn't honest with myself. I told my friends I didn't eat the cookie. Yes, I did. It's okay, but you got to be self-accountable, that you can't expect results to come for work you didn't do. People say, well, is personal development work? Yes, it is work. It's a lot of work. It's probably the most tedious work because sometimes you don't want to do it. You don't want to pick up the book. People say, well, where did I get? You got to be hungry right here. Les Brown. I read it all the time. And he says, I want you to think about two things that Les Brown says, and I'll open it up for one or two more questions, and I'll let you guys go, Bishop. He said he made so many phone calls for his business that his ear had a callus on it. From literally, he says he would have it like this, and he would be grabbing papers, and he'd be doing all these things. So it created a certain callus on his face because he had the phone next to his ear so long. He says his Bible, the corner edges from him touching the pages and turning the pages, had dirt. Do you read something, or do you invest in yourself in something that much that because you're able to do that, you can say, man, I've got dirt on the edges of the paper of my Bible because, I'm doing something, or I'm looking at my hands, whatever, and I'm touching the corner of the Bible, and because I'm touching it so much, right? It's what we call work. So, Wes, I'm glad that you caught that because, yes, being graceful to yourself is knowing that, but it's also letting yourself know what you were finding is things you weren't working on, right? In the process, you're like, man, I'm going to be graceful to myself and I got to adapt, but man, I also know over here, these things, man, because I've seen people go out to dinner and not say a word to each other. Why? Because they don't work on it. They work on being in their phones. They work on text messaging. We're so accessible. I'm a perfect one at it. So what I've learned is When I'm reading the Bible, phone's not near me. When I'm on my 9 o'clock, phone's not near me. I'm just talking to my team. Because the devil knows how to distract you. And he knows what you need. And he will prevent you from getting it at all costs. All right, I'm going to leave it up to anybody else. Questions, comments?
Well, there's no questions. Again, Bryan, thank you so much. What a blessing. I pray all of you that are shared with us tonight have been blessed. And we'll be doing some other things, sharing, and Bryan will be back sharing with us as we are indeed coming through this. And listen, be blessed. Do those things, some forceful thinking. Take care of you. You can only be the best you by taking care of you. And when you do that and honor God in all your ways, he will direct your path. May the blessings of God be with all of you tonight. God bless and have a great evening. God bless you.